online trad wife influencers are breaking up bread and far-right extremist conspiracy theories. An analysis confirmed what some probably already knew, that interacting with trad wife content on TikTok led to a rabbit hole of conspiratorial content. For those lucky enough to not know what a trad wife is, trad wife influencers specifically preach the gospel of rigid gender roles and biblical submissiveness, glamorizing a 1950s housewife aesthetic while calling for some variation of a return to tradition. Media Matters conducted research into trad wives on TikTok. Specifically, they followed 7 trad wife accounts. They liked and watched 10 of the account's most recently published videos. They picked these accounts by using the following criteria. To be considered a trad wife influencer, according to our criteria, a creator had to have a minimum of 20,000 followers, self-identify as a trad wife, explicitly promote traditional gender roles, and primarily dedicate their account to promoting homemaking and traditional values. The key findings of the research is really telling. The right-wing pipeline between online communities. Their key findings were as follows. After interacting with trad wife content, TikTok's recommendation algorithm began flooding the For You page with right-wing conspiracy theory content. The For You page also began displaying medical misinformation and anti-government content, specifically fear-mongering about the need to prepare for an impending civil war. Of the 327 videos served to the For You page, 100 or 30.6% contained conspiracy theories or apocalyptic fear-mongering. Basically, after watching trad wife content, researchers were fed right-wing garbage. Strikingly, apocalyptic fear-mongering was among the worst. You can see the data here from Media Matters, which is crazy. But how do these connect? The answer is hidden between soft imagery, but it's right there. Nearly every trad wife influencer we identified pushed baseless right-wing conspiracy theories and right-wing talking points, often focusing on a general distrust of the government and modern medicine. These messages were positioned between soft visuals of baking, gardening, and modest fashion. You can see an example here. Looks pleasant, I guess. And the theories being quietly pushed have quite the range. Of the 327 videos assessed, 100 or 30.6% contained conspiracy theories, everything from UFOs to elites eating children. Yikes. The most notable conspiracy theories: the earth is flat, the US government is going to institute martial law, Obama is the Antichrist, that one's true. There is a demonic agenda behind household products. There is going to be a civil war. We are living in a matrix. That one also might be true. There's definitely something to be said about the connection between trad wives to the 1940s, 1950s McCarthyism and Red Scare. But Cenk, are you up to date on your latest trad wife influencers?
Well, I think a couple of them might be true. There might be martial law, but that's because of their, the guy they look up to, Donald Trump, but we'll see. Look, guys, this is kind of an interesting story because they've taken something that there's actually nothing inherently wrong with and then perverted it into some sort of weirdo political conspiracy theory engine, right? And why they did that is also interesting, and I don't know, I have a couple theories I'll share with you in a second. But so there's layers. Now, first layer is, if you believe in traditional gender roles, you're guilty. No, I'm kidding. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a free country. You can do whatever you like. You want to be, whether you're a woman or a man, and that's what you're looking for, that's what you want to be. God bless. You want to be a traditional gender role influencer. It's a free country, go for it. Oh man, I love vacuuming and you will love vacuuming too for the rest of your life. Hey, it's not for me, but if it's for you, that's why we call it freedom, right? So then the second layer to it is this whole biblical submissiveness stuff, right? It's a nice kink, right? If you're into it, hey, I'm not judging. That's what God made OnlyFans for. But anyways, but it's not for me, but and I think it's wrong culturally. I don't like when people teach it, like, oh, you need to be submissive to your husband. I don't think you should teach it, I think, but nevertheless, it's a free country, you can, right? But the third layer is the weird layer, which is these lunatic conspiracy theories woven in to, hey, I like cooking, so I'd like to stay at home. I like to raise my kids. Like my mom raised me and my sister. She wound up having a career afterwards, and she loved her career, but she loved raising us. And I'm not just saying that because a lot of people go, oh yeah, sure she did. No, she talks about it all the time, and she's very convincing. Nothing wrong with those choices. But that doesn't mean that she thinks that Bill Gates planted a 5G nano chip in our blood, which is going to explode later into a demonic version of Obama. Like those two things are not logically connected, right? So then it makes me think there's only two possibilities. One is, since trad wife is already considered a right-wing thing with the biblical submissiveness, etc., they're just doing, it's because of audience capture. Their audience wants to hear that George Soros and Michelle Obama have made a love child who's going to institute martial law, right? And so they're serving their audience not just the strawberry cheesecake that they made and their lovely trad existence, but also a bunch of lunatic conspiracy theories that the audience wants to hear. That's probably the most likely reason. The only other possibility is that somebody's funding this and thinks, oh, this is a good vehicle in which to deliver this message, this crazy message, in a way that seems normal in the beginning and hooks people. But I doubt it. I don't think there's a lot of money to be made in that case. I think it's probably audience capture. Waz, what do you think?
I actually read a story, and I think it was The Cut or one of these, prestige women's rags. And the lady who actually invented the trad wife trend is a British woman, and her whole thing, like you said, Cenk, was I don't want to go to work. I want to make the house. I want to iron my husband's clothes. Yada yada yada. And it was just about that. And the story later reveals that she became disenfranchised with what the fad and the trend went because it became so overtly political. When for her, and of course because she's British, and like for example, like in America, there's like, once you believe in one thing, people automatically map all these other beliefs. Like if you're a liberal, quote unquote, you're in favor of, stuff like gay marriage or trans rights, and you want to take everybody's gun and blah, 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 and on and on. Like that, these things that we automatically map onto people. But for her, she was like, I just want to not work and do stuff in the house for my husband and my kids, right? And so she moved on from that. But in America, there's no way to disentangle these things. Once you're somebody who's calling yourself quote unquote conservative, you kind of have to map into, all right, not only am I not trying to work and I'm trying to make a home, I also believe in this really ridiculous fundamentalist reading of the Bible. And I also believe the government is secretly trying to kill us and poison us. And I like it in America, like it's impossible to separate the two. So I'm not surprised that it's gone this route, because people automatically put themselves in buckets in this country.
There's been some great writing over the years about how these conspiracy theories have infiltrated these different types of online communities. And especially during COVID, QAnon made huge inroads with anti-vax moms. The reasons why are kind of confusing, kind of abstract, but when you're already distrustful of one institution, and I guess it's women in the workplace, or the core, I guess, idea or concept of feminism for these people, you begin to start to question everything else, and you don't really give it much intellectual rigor. And you see these things sweep through all of these different subsets of online communities, and it's really sad. But one thing I noticed when I think about these trad wives, and they kind of harken back to 1950s America, it's like weird, like American Aryan type aesthetic. And you think about, why that period? Why aren't they dressing as flappers, right? The 50s is the last decade before the civil rights movement. You look at these influencers, it's overwhelmingly white. They're overwhelmingly blonde. There's weirdly a lot of them in Salt Lake City. There are a lot of Mormons. Within that, I'm not saying it's everybody, but probably most of them, there's a racial resentment, and they want to harken back to a time in America, the last decade, where whites had codified supremacy. So it's really disgusting trend overall.
Yeah, I think that if there's any non-insane right-wing influencers, you'd make a killing, because that's a market need that is not at all served, right? Like, because there's got to be right-wingers in the country who are not lunatics, right? It's got to be a decent number, right? And so, but unfortunately, there isn't a single right-wing host who's willing to serve that community. Like, they all believe in lunatic conspiracy theories, say weirdly hateful things. Like, you could be for traditional gender roles, you could be for conservative family values, you could be for all those things and not be a lunatic, but you won't find a right-wing host who'll serve that community.
I think they're out there though. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily that they're not trying. It's that the problem that this story reflects is the algorithms won't push that. It's going to be impossible to find them unless they have a huge institutional backer who can just get them paid traffic, paid views. These algorithms push the most deranged content because we're all sick people. We love seeing weird stuff on the internet and we want more and more and more of it. If someone's going on like, okay, it's time for the common sense hour and I'm just going to be talking to you about normal things. Right, exactly. You're going to scroll, you're going to swipe. Exactly what.
Swipe. No, but the funny thing is, guys, the last thing I do want to say about this that I'm quite tickled by, because TikTok has been in the news because allegedly China is turning us all into Maoists, Leninists, Marxists, propagandizing us into becoming these militant leftists. Apparently they do just as good a job as turning right-wingers into sickos too. So that's gotta be pretty heartening, guys.
Yeah, except one of those things is true and the other one isn't. So, but that, isn't it funny that there's no one out there saying we gotta, to Waz's point, that we gotta ban TikTok because it's turning people who believe in traditional gender roles into psychotic conspiracy theory believers? Yeah. Which actually is happening.
Yes,
right?
there's data to prove.
Yeah.
And by the way, I gotta say, just to briefly talk about the TikTok thing, I think if the government came out and explained, like, look, they don't let Facebook in there, they don't let Instagram in there, Twitter's not in there, in China I'm talking about, they ban our and we're not allowed to propagandize their people. We want to fill their people with plenty of lies. We would love to be able to do it, but they don't let us, so we're not going to let them. But instead, they come out with all of this far-flung, oh, they have so much influence and they care about our privacy. The biggest mass surveillance freaking government known to man cares about our privacy when it comes to TikTok. That's what I think people's problem with the government is in general, man. Like if they came out and said, look, man, and we would have loved to sneak some of this American propaganda through these great movies. They censor the hell out of our movies. They work hand in hand with Hollywood studios as to what they can put in, what they have to take out. Again, like I said, ban every single social media platform that's an American one. And they don't let us, and we would like to try it and they don't let us. So we're not gonna let them do it to us.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.